Hi, I'm Mark. I'm Mark Kinsella, and I'm a glass artist. The name of my studio is Screaming Squirrel Glass. And most times when I tell people that I'm a glass artist, this is what they think I do. That's not me. I mean, that is me, and that was when I was taking a class, but mine is not as exciting and fun and ballet-esque as glass blowing. Mine is cold glass. I work in the studio. I cut glass and put it into kilns. So I've been doing, so here's Katie, where are you? You said a nice clean studio? That's me. That's a 660 square foot. Now these are extension cords, not the ceiling falling in. And I've got kilns that go around the wall there and cold working equipment and so on. But that's kind of a snapshot of the craziness in the studio. And it's just right outside my door. I can just roll out with a cup of coffee and hit the studio and start making stuff. I've been doing this for about 20 years. Kathy and I did a date night. We saw something on PBS where there was a show where somebody did some fusing, and I bought Kathy a little kiln. We were petrified. We took that thing outside on the brickwork with extension cord and fired it out there so we wouldn't burn our house down. Then we started doing it on top of the wood stove, so we're slowly moving it in. Fast forward about a couple weeks, I've got a kiln in the mudroom, one on the kitchen table. I've cut glass in the dining room table, and I had stuff everywhere, all over our porch. And so I moved it into the studio, and I make works like this. This is what you would call a vitrograph bowl. It's made from Murini, where I pull cane down a couple of inches and end up cooling it and cutting it. And I have a video that I'm going to show you, and we'll explain it. And you can ask questions. We can stop the video, and we can talk a little bit about it. I guess we should play the video now. See if it works. I do work for Duke University, and this is the colors that I picked for them. Turn that off. So put the glass up in the kiln. It's little squares of it that start at 35 by 20 inch sheets of glass, and I layer it in different colors and clear in between to get rings. And I'll grab it with pliers and just pull it down. My wife, Kathy, who's in the back, will then take it, and after I cut it, and she'll put it into another kiln so it anneals and cools down nice and slow, and then I will take that and chop it into little pieces that you'll see here.
Is that the kiln at the top?
The kiln is at the top, yes.
That's a different kiln behind it.
I have this small Paragon kiln. It's about this big. It's a 5x5 or 6x6 opening, and it was designed for this. So when Paragon, Bullseye, and a couple of glass folks got together back in the 80s and decided to pull stringer and wiry stuff to use in their work, and Kathy takes that and then puts it into the kiln. Now that is getting up to about, it'll break the fragility state and take it into, not soft, but it gets past the fragile part, and it will then cool it nice and slow. And then I get about 40 to 45 feet of glass that I pull out of a pot of glass, and then we start chopping it. Did I take classes? I think I've signed up and taken 5 or 6 classes, but most of it's mostly self-taught and messing around and experimenting. That cutter is aluminum, and it's on a spring base, so it's called a snappy chopper, and I can pick the size. I've tried some of the pneumatic ones. I just don't like them. I don't have as much control over the cut, and this will give me some nice, clean cuts. And so each one of those pieces, when you look at the bowl, has one piece of glass put into the mold one at a time. So a piece like this one over here will have about 400 pieces of glass, and there's one in the middle up here that's probably got about 800. Right? Each little piece of glass has been placed. So if you were to spend the time to count those, you would. So then after it's fused into that one slab, I'll take it to this. It's a diamond wheel that's a 60 grit, and I'll go through it like woodworking. I'll go through 60, 120, 240, and so on, and I'll eventually polish it, sandblast it.
And this is when they got joined together?
Oh, that was when I was putting them together. They go into the kiln and they fuse together. So that was right before that. and then you cold work it the second time. So it comes down, it goes in, the second time it gets it, and then I'm putting this on here. I coat just about all of my work with clear because there are some glasses that have lead and sulfur and chemicals that could leach, so I always coat everything with a thin layer of clear, and then that helps protect it. And later on in the slide presentation, you'll see a bowl with a drop vessel that's kind of green, and I'll talk about the two different glasses there and why I would continue to do that.
Talk a little bit about the different, the circles are different patterns.
Yeah, they are. So the reason for that is I will start with clear when I put it, and I have a square stainless steel box that's in that kiln. And in that box, I'll take flooring tile that you would use to do your kitchen. I go down to Lowe's and I buy the cheapest 50-cent tile that I can buy, and I will cut it to line that stainless steel box so that the glass doesn't stick to the steel, right? If it did, I wouldn't be able to use the pot very often. So I line it with that. I put it up in the kiln, and then I put clear because that's going to be wasted. You saw part of it that went into the water and sizzled. It was kind of fun. And then I did a color. And then I might do clear, and then I might do white, and then I'll just do different layers of colors. Well, yeah, because of the way that you arrange your sheet glass, the 4 pieces, right? Now, anybody that's done glass, this is done from one pull. All the glass that's in this came from one pot, and it goes way up to red. And I'm really proud of this pot. Right, because it is a great gradation in color. But if you were to look at it, because there's color just above the clear at the base of the pole, what happens with it is that it'll put a skin, and I'll pass this around, hold it up to the light, and you can see some purple in between the colors. And that's because it's coming from here, the very bottom of the kiln. Every single piece of Murini that comes out of this is going to have a thin layer of whatever that base color is. And it just keeps adding layers and layers and rings until you get it. So I'll pass that around for you to take a peek at. So that's kind of that. Any other questions about the Murini? Yeah.
When you put those little pieces next to each other, they're just normally going to cling to each other, or are you using some kind of...
Well, that's a great question. So they go into, I use some type of dam, stainless steel material, or I use kiln shelf material that I cut and create a box with and line it with a ceramic fiber that keeps the glass from sticking to it. And glass, when it melts, wants to be 1/4 of an inch. So I cut those a little bit taller than 1/4 of an inch, and there'll be air gaps in the middle, but they settle down and fuse and make one big piece. So a little bit taller, maybe, we got maybe 5/16, something like that. We're just a little bit taller than 1/4 of an inch, and then it all fuses together and becomes one piece, and it gets ground, polished, sandblasted, back into the kiln. So that piece right there has had kiln work, the pull, the anneal, the fuse, the powder polish, and the slump. So it's been in and out of a kiln 5 times. Bullseye guarantees, the company that I use my glass, they guarantee 3 processes, 3 within heat range, and you can stretch it a little bit because it's not a set rule. Oh, okay.
So Mark,
Yes.
on this piece,
Yep.
the gradient was one, like the beginning of the pull?
Yep.
And that slowly progressed to the other?
Yep.
Okay. That's
So I loaded it, the colors of a rainbow, purple, blue, lighter blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. And the red looks kind of like orange.
So how many hours of work did this entail?
I hate to tell you. Takes me, Kathy, what did you say, about an hour to pull it?
Yeah.
About an hour to cut it, 30 minutes to cut it. Anneal it, not counting time in the kilns, I would say I've got about 20 hours in that piece, maybe 15. Because each one of those pieces are going in one at a time. If I were making it myself, now my wife will come out and help me, I'll cut it and she'll put it in. There's this piece right up here that's a 14-inch bowl? 14-inch bowl that has around 800 pieces of glass in it, but I can be very I can be very deliberate with where I put the glass, and I can make images and colors of the earth from space, so the water coming up into the sand, going up into the greenery and that kind of stuff. And it's, you know, it's abstract, but it's kind of cool. And if you're looking at it from, I want to be able to eventually make pictures, faces and people and things with Murini that you see at a distance, but when you look at it up close, it won't look like much of anything. I don't know what that is. Huh. Oh, okay. So let's go back to our slideshow. And anybody have any more questions about the Murini? We saw the video. So this is an interesting thing with Murini. I have, as you would imagine, I don't use all of the Murini. So I have maybe 3 or 4 rods at the end that I don't quite use. So I'll have different color schemes. And I took a bunch and I put them in a container. It's about like this, and about 6 inches long. And I just let them do what they're going to do. Fuse them together so that they're one block of glass. And then I would take that and cut it. So when you look at this piece, this is part of a pattern bar. And that pattern bar is then fused together. So if you look at this, I've got a pattern bar that goes from here to here, and from here to here. And I pair those. So when I cut the block of glass, I do this with it and get a mirror image of it. It's called book matching. We do it in woodworking. Pete, do you do book? Yep. Right? So then I book match, and then I also flip them so that they're lined up so that, you know, they're matching in color here at the bottom. So book match. And then the next one will go book match. You know, and then the next one will go like this, and so that the colors match up till you get this. And this one was fused, and I'm going to show you the entire process without the pattern bar, sorry. When you look at this, this is the pattern bar in my cutting table. Those are 1/4-inch little holes in my cutting table. I have the 4 pieces. Is that 4? 6. There's 2, 4, 8. There's 8 of them. A line of red, and this is clear glass. And then I fuse that to become one piece. So you kind of get the idea. This is laid on a kiln shelf. If I were to move this glass would slide that way, it's just left like that. And I didn't do anything to make it, to dam it, because it's 2 sheets of glass. It's going to be 1/4 of an inch when it gets finished. And I'm going to end up cutting off part of it anyway. So there it is, finished. It's still hot, so it doesn't have that same color. And then this is an important picture. It doesn't look like it. It's what I use for molds for dropping out glass. So it's ceiling tile. It might not be this ceiling tile, but it's rated to 2,500 degrees, so I can put that slab of glass that you saw in this last picture on top of that to then fuse it. So what happens with it is the heat and the temperature, same thing. Heat and gravity and weight of the glass will pull it down. And when I see that it gets this nice flat bottom, then I know that it's finished. And I'm lifting up the kiln at about 1,200 degrees and taking a peek in there. I got a glove on that keeps me from getting burned most of the time. Glass blowers get burned more than glass fusers, and I get cut a lot. Not as much as I used to. Now, that rim that you saw that it was hanging on, I have this contraption that's actually an angle grinder, and it's a machine I bought. It has water going to it. I've repurposed my grinding wheel. This will get water coming down to it. This wheel's going to spin. It's a diamond-coated glass blade, and I'll stick this bowl into it, and I think of it as the day of 1,000 cuts, because you're just going around it nice and slow, nice and easy, because you don't want to heat up the glass. This one actually broke later, but I had that. I mean, and it happens. So you cut the rim off, and then you take it and you grind it down and clean it up, and it becomes nice and shiny. And that's what it looks like in the kiln when it's hot. So that's the red one up there called Cherry Pie. Then I had one that I was doing in purple, and it didn't work. And it didn't work 3 times. And that purple is one of my most expensive glasses because it has gold in it, right? So it didn't work. This is a piece that's in the show, and it's called Moonrise, and it has much more detail in the center. But picture this, or a bowl like this, where the rim is being cut off. That's the rim of one of these. All right? So we clean up the clear off the edge of it, and then we put a green glass underneath it, and the French vanilla, which looks like it's floating in water, is actually just right in the center of it. It's fused to 1490 degrees, and it becomes one piece, and then we slump it. Right? So that's that one. We also are doing things with those, making mirrors and sorry. I'm doing what you're doing, Katie. This one is made from those rings. So you can see the rings on the outside. I'm going to pass this around. This is pretty heavy.
You want the light on?
Not yet. I'm almost done. Here you go. So I said I'd talk about this one. It really doesn't look like much of anything on this screen right now, but it's up in the show there, and this is one of those glasses where the glass has lead in it, the white, and then I put something called French vanilla in stringers and crushed glass on it while it was flat and fused it to become one piece. And the French vanilla has sulfur or selenium in it, and they react to each other. So it makes these lines and things come out and shine. And it's really just two colors of glass. It got so thin in the top that the green shines through. And I have a blue one where the blue shines through, or a black one.
Is that like the big plate that's
It is. Yeah. Yeah, and I've got that actual pieces right there in the show. In the center. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's really, the white is much whiter, and it's got this nice tactile touch to it. I've been sandblasting a lot of stuff, but I also found that I can put things back into the kiln after I've sandblasted them to heat seal it so it doesn't take fingerprints. So I've got plates up here and things that have that sandblasted finish. Did I go backwards? I did backwards, didn't I? This is the centerpiece of a bowl. Now, this piece, when you look at this piece, this is the center of that piece, which is up front. This was really kind of fun. There's a couple of glass people who are doing different types of this kind of work. So I took 4 different artists, combined what they were doing to come up with what I'm doing. This is actually the top of the glass, and think of glass when it gets hot and it gets molten. It goes like this. You're looking at like lava, and it's going in like this, and it's turning, and the top is then turning to become the bottom, right? And it's all the glass in this ring is going down and in. So this piece is actually part of this piece. This centerpiece comes from the back, and it just fuses, and it just kind of flows down into it. And it's polished up, and it's got a nice edge to it. And I don't do this. I don't like to do the same thing over and over. You'll see that I've done a lot of vitrograph. Okay, now I'm going on to something else. I started with strips and patterns, and I still go back to them and revisit those thoughts, but I don't stick with them. And I'm like, you guys go into the studio, you like it quiet. I turn on music as soon as I wake up. I don't even get out of bed. I turn on music, and I've got it in all the rooms in my house. I go out to my studio. I put it on level 5 or 6, and to start grabbing stuff to make. And I have really no preconceived idea of what I'm going to make until it comes out of the kiln. I might think about what I'm doing with it, and I might want to make something, and quite often I'll come out with something different than I was making in the first place. Happy accidents, or good planning, or just whatever music was playing at the day.
How do you name them?
How do you name them? I hate naming them. Honestly, I hate naming them. And it's hard. I guess I should talk about where I get my inspiration from. And it's like every other artist on the planet. I go out in the woods. I walk down the beach. I remember colors. I have pictures. I started out as a photographer. So if I have a color combination that I was inspired by at the beach, say, my sunset, then I have a piece up here that's named after sunset. And I try to name them either the feeling I had or something that ties to it. Like that blue one I call blueberry pie, because it looks like it slices of blueberry pie to me. Juicing out and stuff with a nice golden top on it. Anybody else? Questions?
What music do you listen to?
I like blues, but I have, I'll put on like a Loan Me a Dime station with Boss Skaggs and Allman Brothers and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Yeah, just 60s. I'm a product. I was born in 1960, so I'm a product of the 60s and 70s, and that's the music. And I play it loud, louder the better. And say again. It's mostly self-taught and reading. Back in the day when I started, we had forums that we could go to. You couldn't go to Facebook and have all kinds of information available. You had to go on forums and ask a question after you screwed something up. I had the misfortune of not messing up a lot of stuff at the beginning for the first 10 years. It didn't break. It did what I wanted it to, which was not good for me because then I expected everything to work the first time. And when I started hitting that roadblock, it was really difficult to get past that because I had to figure out why things were breaking, and we still didn't have all of the internet that we have today to be able to just go on and say, hey, I did this. What do you think that was? All right, and I've been doing it. It's been about 20 years. Yeah, it's been fun. Say again? There's a lot of people that do fuse glass. A lot of jewelry makers and people that are starting out. And if anybody wants to learn, I'm going to be teaching in my studio at home soon. But there's quite a few. If you go into art shows and craft fairs, you'll see a lot of different stuff. One of the things that I like to point out to people when you're looking at glass work is to look at the finished work. Right? Look, is it polished? Is it got wobbly edges to it? Is it wonky? I mean, it might be tended to be wonky, but are all pieces wonky? There's a difference between craft and art, and I don't call myself an artist. I just like to make stuff. And honestly, if I wasn't selling it, I'd be giving this stuff away. I would still make glass. I'm a photographer. I like to pick up my camera. I play music, guitar. I get out and make glass. I'm retired from the corporate world, so I don't have to do any of that responsible stuff. Kathy keeps doing the responsible stuff, where I just kind of live off of it.
Can the colors look like what you expect? Because often, like let's say pottery.
Yeah.
The colors are not what they put them in and they come out like, oh, I didn't know it was going to look like that.
Yeah.
But when you do glass, is it pretty well what?
It's pretty well unless you reach in and grab something that's a reactive glass, like the French vanilla to blue. It turns brown where that happens. Here's an example. This was, and I'll just hand this right to you. This is blue and French vanilla. There's no gray in this. It's just the reaction to it, and you can kind of see the blue through there. Yeah. And it's just, yeah. So if you don't know that, then you can run into trouble. But Bullseye has, the company I get my glass from, they have charts that tell you these are the glasses that might react to the sulfur and lead and so on and so on. So you can prevent it. But for the most part, when I look at a blue piece of glass, I know that glass. I've got a piece from 1994 that I use. I've got 2 sheets of it, and it's the same color as the piece that was made yesterday. They do such rigid controls and tests and things. That piece is compatible with the glass that I'm using now. Does that make sense? Yeah. Fumes? No fumes. One thing you don't put into a kiln is galvanized metal, because the zinc in that galvanized stuff will leach into it, and it's bad for you. But it leaches into a kiln, and it can continue putting off vapors and things. So if you're ever doing glass and you wanted to do a screen melt or something that uses metal, use stainless steel. Don't use aluminum. Don't use a zinc-coated screen because it's cheap. Yeah?
What's your favorite aspect of doing this?
What is my favorite aspect of doing this? The finished product is the thing for me, the edges. People hate doing cold working because it's tedious. You're standing there, you have to go through all the grits, 60 all the way up to a cerium pad that you have to polish, and that's multiple grits. But I love doing it. I love grinding. I love doing the cold working and cutting and that kind of stuff. It gives me chill bones doing it. Oh, I bought a crucible kiln. I took a glass blowing class recently, and I'm totally hooked. So, anybody else? Questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. We have artists next month. Who are our artists next month? Marcy, are you going to be giving a talk? Marcy's going to be giving a talk. Who are the other 2 with you? Talk? Lynn? Marcy, Lynn, and Chris will be our next one. Thanks, everybody. Let's get some lights for people.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Nobody broke anything.